It is above freezing. The snow is melting very fast. The road has gotten so bad that coming home last night to drive the final 3 miles in probably took me 30 minutes at least, because I had to regularly back up and get some momentum to get up the hills in the really soft, slushy snow. So I'm gonna run down and try and find the bad spots and use the skid steer to at least clean up the hills and the spots on the road that are the hardest to get up. So. Old times screaming and a shouting. Way too strong. At this time of year, there really isn't a whole lot that we can do with the snow other than wait. There are a few bad spots in the road where I can use the skid steer to push it to one side or the other, but the road is so narrow at this time that it's wide enough for one car to pass. And those of us that use the road on a daily basis, we all know it's just a matter of time while we wait for the snow to go away. By using the skid steer to push it to one side or the other, it makes a difference. It allows the dirt that's underneath the snow to come to the surface a lot faster and ultimately dry out faster, because as soon as the snow melts, we all know what happens next. It's mud season for a while. But if I can help the road dry out just a little bit faster by moving the snow around, I'm going to try. I've talked about this before, but from the bottom of this road all the way up to our house is about a 700-foot difference in elevation, meaning the road climbs over 700 feet by the time it reaches our house. So there are a few hills that need to be cleaned up periodically as the snow melts. Some of these hills are long enough that if you don't have a little bit of momentum, they can be fun to climb. So pushing the snow from one side to the other is usually all we need to do. I find myself switching back and forth between the bucket and the plow, but using the skid steer instead of the plow truck allows me to fine-tune things and get a little bit more detailed, because I can do it a lot slower with the skid steer than I can with the plow truck. But there's one more attachment that I'll be on the lookout for over summer, and that's a good quality snowblower. Callie and Reedon back there with you? How'd it go? Uh-oh, he lost?
Twice, I got annihilated.
What do you think about the road so far?
It's crappy.
Any better than yesterday or no? No. I've been working on it for like 3 hours. Okay, I'll see you up at the house.
Just when it's chunky, it's sloppy.
It's just sloppy.
That way.
Mark's been working on it up above me, so. Okay, see you in a little bit. Dogs haven't been out forever.
The plow truck doesn't work in this kind
not as good as this does. Bye.
We were made for each other to hold on to. I was carved out of redwood beneath your moon. I was birthed in the mountains under the sun. Something's changed, you can't see my face in the ground no more. Something's changed, you can't see my face in the crowd no more. We are living the dream together out here on the road, and our love takes center stage in every single show. But lately you've been distant, and I don't know what for. Something's changed, you can't see my face in the crowd no more. Something's changed, you can't see my face in the crowd no more. We were made for each other to hold on to. I was carved out of redwood beneath your moon. I was birthed in the mountain under the sun. Something's changed, you can't see my face in the crowd no more. Something's changed, you can't see my face in the crowd no more. Something's changed, you can't see my face in the crowd no more.
Yeah, right here. You're fine. Ruby! You see Ruby? I need to get all the wiring finished up out here in the addition in the shop, starting with the downstairs bedroom and bathroom. The high bay shop lights are perfect for the shop, but they're a little bit too much for the loft. So I'm going to install about a dozen can lights, a couple of ceiling fans, and pull all the wire for the upstairs loft and bedroom. Then I need to do the same thing for the downstairs bedroom and bathroom. The 6 high bay shop lights that were already installed, I shifted about 6 feet over to the other side of the shop. So those lights are focused on the shop and not the loft. Once the shop is finished, I still plan on putting a lift in the back corner of the shop, but before I can pick that location, we first have to get the shelves built and get everything fairly organized. But I will rough the electrical in the attic, making it easier to wire up the lift when the time comes. As I'm moving the lights around, I have to make sure my two favorite saddles are also hanging in their correct location. The first saddle was likely my great-grandfather's saddle, and I have a picture of my grandpa sitting in that saddle when he was a boy, taken at our family ranch. The second saddle was the saddle that my wife likely used when she was growing up as a kid, that was given to us by her dad. So you can see the snow is starting to melt away, and really the only thing I can do at this point is just try and keep it away from the places that I care about, like the shop and the house. So as the last little bit of snow slides off the roof, I try to push it away as quick as I can. Every few days I fly my drone down to inspect the creek and see how much water we've got moving. All right, now I can hear myself. You know what's interesting is since I put the bird block in last week, now the heater warms at least the upstairs up so fast that I find myself sweating upstairs when I'm working and then cold downstairs. So once we get this place insulated, it's obviously not going to take a whole lot to keep it warm in the cold months. But let me tell you what I did yesterday. I got all of these lights, all of the shop lights relocated back on the shop. I got all the cans put in over the loft in the bedroom. Bedroom's down here, bathroom down here. I really should stop and do some cleanup and some organization, but that's not exactly my style. So I'm gonna wire the second story, get everything ready up there, and then I'm gonna stop, I think, and at least get all the scrap lumber out of the shop so I can walk around without tripping. As much as I love having a nice warm place to work, I would rather be outside. It's still cold, but the sun is shining. And all winter long, all that I get to think about are the things that I'm going to do as soon as snow melts. And this year will be no different. Dozens of projects that I hope to get to this summer, starting with getting that bobtail propane tank relocated and tied into our existing gas system, so I can then move the propane tank near the house, and then I'll begin the fun part of building the rock retaining wall that I've been eagerly looking forward to for a few years now. But while I'm waiting for the snow to melt, I really want to get the shop done. I'm wiring the shop exactly the same way that I wired the house, which is pretty basic. 8 can lights on 2 separate switches, as well as a couple of ceiling fans over the loft. I will install LED lighting in the cans once all the drywall is finished. This time of year always brings up some personal reflection on my life as we're approaching the 7-year anniversary since we bought this piece of ground here that we now call Red Poppy Ranch. I often find myself thinking about what would have happened had I turned left instead of right. What would have happened had I not taken the chance and moved my family 800 miles away to the place that we thought we wanted to live. Still to this day, these are the things that keep me awake at night. I still think about how different life could have turned out. Well, it looks like the little cabin survived winter okay. One of the first things we're going to do once it dries out a little bit is cut a new trail in from the new property up to the little cabin, which should make it much safer to get to. But we're not going to stop the trail there. One of the things I'm really looking forward to this summer is getting access to the back of our property and doing that in a safe way. According to Henry David Thoreau, most men live lives of quiet desperation. I say not so much here at Red Poppy Ranch. My desperation is loud. As a matter of fact, it's so loud that my wife would tell you she wishes it was a little bit quieter. While there's definitely still parts of my life that need looking over desperately, the things that I get to do with my time, I choose to look at as a huge blessing. It's a blessing for doing something a little bit different. In my mind, life has a tendency to be what we make it. As hard as this has been over the last 7 years to do whatever it is that we've done, I've never once looked back and thought I made a giant mistake. I've never once thought that I was on the wrong path. I've never once thought that the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. I've never once thought that the pros didn't outweigh the cons. As bad as the road is, as hard as the winters can be, as muddy as my truck gets, whatever the negatives can be, the positives still greatly outweigh them. I'm afraid more dreams have likely been crushed by 401ks and benefits and maybe a company truck than anything else. I can remember being incredibly desperate when I quit that job and Cedar and I started our own business, but that was probably the very first step in the direction that would end up leading us right here. All that I know is I never felt comfortable doing those things that kept me comfortable. I hated being told by somebody else what he thought my value was, and for that reason I didn't make the best employee. I'm not going to try and pretend that my life is the life you should have lived, but what I am going to say is most people are too afraid of change to change anything. The question is, are you most people? All right, starting over here, I envision a TV going on this wall. I got 3 outlets over there. All these outlets here. All the outlets in the bedroom are now done. I still need to prep the boxes in a couple of spots. But that's everything pulled. I raised all those boxes up. That was the big issue that I needed to take care of. The only thing that's left upstairs as far as the electrical is concerned is the smoke alarm. And I'll pull that wire when I do the bedroom downstairs tomorrow. So I'm nearly done with all of the electrical associated with the addition, the bedrooms, the bathroom. At some point, I have to figure out the door opening and get that wire moved. And I'm kind of putting it off because I'm going to have to shut the power off out here to do that. And I need to make sure it's in the middle of the day so I can see what I'm doing. But one more line for 5 outlets on that side of the shop. I'm going to pull a line for lights out underneath that porch out there. I got a rough end, an outlet up high on the shop out here where the kids play basketball. They've been asking me to put a light in forever. I need to do that as well. But this is all pretty simple stuff. So everything else I already did. All the other outlets downstairs I already took care of. So tomorrow I'm going to get out here and get the final electrical, get the wires pulled. I also need to pull that 220 line properly. That obviously is not going to pass code the way that it is, and that's for my welder. So it's fairly minimal stuff that I should be able to get done pretty quick tomorrow. The irony is I now get paid for making videos, and you are the one that ultimately pays for watching the video. And on some level, you've got to be interested because you're watching the videos. So, first and foremost, I'm incredibly grateful for you and your time, because without you and your time, me and my time are spent somewhere else. But think about this. One of the reoccurring comments that seems to happen on our channel is the comment, I would love to have what you have, but I'm just not willing to do what you've done to get it. I'm not telling you to go build a life in the mountains of Idaho completely off-grid, but what I am saying, maybe you ought to fire that boss that hasn't given you that raise that you deserve. Or maybe you ought to start that small business that you've been thinking about. As we speak, I am looking into a crystal ball, and the crystal ball is going to tell me the future. And the future, ironically, looks very similar to the past. It seems that the real estate market is coming to a screeching halt for most, but the days of owner carry will likely come back in action, as they always do when interest rates get a little bit too high. But there will be hard times ahead for some, and opportunity for others. It feels just like it did in early 2007, but the only difference is now I'm experienced. By the way, Cedar and I started our business right in the middle of that first recession. Along with that Thoreau quote, here's another one of my favorites. Opportunity is often missed by most people because it's dressed in overalls and it looks like work. But here's another one for you. Opportunity follows struggle, it follows effort, it follows hard work. It doesn't come before. It would seem to be that there's always opportunities for people that recognize them regardless of what's going on in the world. So keep your head up because likely there's an opportunity coming. I once read an article that said you'll get 2 life-changing opportunities before you die, and that's it. And if you're over the age of 40, odds are you've already missed one of those opportunities. Opportunities are often unfamiliar, and that scares people off as well. I have found that the saying, if it looks too good to be true, it probably isn't, doesn't always hold water. But you also have to be smart enough to identify it as an opportunity. What I'm saying is, don't stand there throwing a tantrum because it's not the right color, when it might be the deal of a lifetime. At the end of the day, I'm grateful that you're willing to watch what we put on YouTube. Soon enough, the snow is going to be gone and we're going to get back to some outside projects, but in the meantime, we're going to try and finish the shop. Bam. Bam. All right. So I got all the wires rerouted out of there, so now I can take the window out and cut the opening in for the new access door. It's getting warm enough now that I probably could call the saw cutter for the concrete. So I need to probably get on his schedule, but it's still going to be a little while before he's able to come out here and cut this. But the hard part's done now. I have one circuit left of outlets to wire. I went ahead and put a light in for the kids over the basketball court. I kind of condensed things there. I have one more outlet I need to put in over there. I'm going to put my 240 outlet over here so I can plug my welder in as I need to, but that's about it. My goal is to get the inspection done next week. So I'm going to finish buttoning everything up. I'm going to call my daughter and son-in-law, specifically my son-in-law Christian, and have him come and look everything over. Make sure I'm good to go before the inspection. I do need to put some lights out on that porch out there. And I think I'm going to put a light out here underneath the firewood as well. So when Cedar and the kids are getting firewood at night, it's not such an ordeal. So I got to think about the placement of a couple more switches, but the hard stuff's done. I'm going to knock this door out. Our next video will be all about, hopefully, moving on to plumbing, because I'm just about done with all of the electrical. Once I pass my inspection, I got to get the plumbing inspection done, which is real minor. And then we technically can start buttoning up the walls. Hopefully by midweek next week, I've got some inspections done and we can start talking serious about closing these walls up. So